welcome to this week's vlog. As you can see, I am in my beautiful AM horse box, which is my first official outing with Donny since I went and collected him from Wales. So today we're having a flatwork lesson with Justine. It's about half an hour drive-ish from the yard. I have no idea how he's going to load, how he's going to be. Like I said, since we've collected him from Wales, he's never been anywhere. As far as I'm aware, he's never been to like any shows or any venues or anything. He's literally just a blank baby. So I am now going to drive over to the yard. We'll get him in, groom him, get his tack loaded up, and fingers crossed he's a good boy to load. So I have just arrived at the yard, and the first thing I always do is load up my lorry with what I need for my lesson, because there's nothing worse than getting somewhere and missing things. And I always do it like before I get the horses in, because once I've got Donny and then I start with him, then it's easy to forget like what you've packed. So just thought I'd show you Donny's tack, because it's all new to you guys, and it's all kind of new to me too, and what I've packed for our lesson. This is Donny's saddle and bridle. He's currently in a Wilkie snaffle, just because that is what he was previously ridden in, and I wanted to stick to what he knew. He's got a full-size bridle and a martingale with just a plain cavesson noseband, keeping it sort of as plain as possible. I've just got the martingale on there because he does tend to put his head up, and it gives me a bit of extra security. And then we have got the Monarch GFS saddle, which has an interchangeable gullet system, which I brought for him because he is bound to change shape quite a lot, and this is quite handy. Finley's actually got a changeable gullet saddle too, because the horses do change shape quite a lot here over the summer because there's lots of grass. Riding boots which haven't been cleaned, as you can see, 2 hay nets, my rug locker full of like first aid and things like that. I have my riding hat. And then if I swoop round into the wardrobe, which has not been cleaned, as you can see, I always have my body protector in here, a schooling whip, some coats, bucket, water, my hunting whip, my steps, some gloves, lavender wash, fly spray, and I think there is a lunge line in there too. Together. Finley's going to spend some time in the stable when I take Donny away. Finley would be absolutely fine. He doesn't care about being on his own whatsoever. Just Donny's not been in the barn like on his own before. I always bring them in together, stable them, and then ride them one at a time. Donny doesn't like being left particularly, but it is something he is starting to get over with now. I have been hacking Finley this week, and slowly I've just been starting to go away like 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes, and now I've been going on sort of hour hacks, and he's getting over himself. But I don't want to cause extra stress by bringing him in the barn by himself when he hasn't been in there by himself before. So I'm just going to bring them both in. Finley can come in and have some time without grass because he is quite chubby at the minute. Good boys. And we'll give you a groom, and you're not getting any more apples. Okay, let's go, guys. So here he is, just come in for a groom, and he's probably going to try and untie himself because that's his new favourite trick at the minute, isn't it, Don? I've got the radio on in the background, so apologies if you can't hear me that well. I think it's really important for young horses to have a lot of sound going on around them. We're on a busy farm, so there's a lot of machinery going on around him, and then I have the radio on, and the idea of that is when he goes to a show and they've got like music playing, he doesn't freak out because he's heard it like every time he comes in. Hey? But he's looking pretty relaxed. He doesn't know what's coming to him yet, do you? I'm going to groom him, pick his feet out, give him a quick blitz, and then get his travel stuff on, and then let him go in the stable and have a wee and have 5 minutes to himself with his travel gear on, just so he can get used to the travel boots and things before I attempt to load him. Okay, so here he is, all dressed up in his travel outfit. Well, he's got Finley's Dino travel boots on, and I ordered him this fleece which came yesterday with a neck. I like to have a fleece with a neck for show prep travel because usually they're plaited and then you get all little tiny strands of hay in their plaits. So I ordered him this one, but he's going to wear it today anyway. And he's got a Finley's tail guard on. He's looking pretty chill, aren't you? And I know a lot of people travel like young horses in tack, so they're kind of ready to go in case they get them off the other side and then they're like raving and they can't get the tack on. He looks raving, doesn't he? But with show horses, you would never travel them in like your best showing tack, because if it gets damaged, then basically you can't use it again for the show ring. I mean, the odd scuff or whatever you can get away with, but I had a lovely bridle for my first pony. I travelled him in his bridle and he actually chewed the reins, and then when I got there I had reins that were damaged, and I'd even twizzled them all up under his chin, so he just managed to pull a bit loose. And yeah, showing tack isn't cheap, so I would rather get there like an hour early and just wait for him to stand, settle and be ready. I mean, he's looking so tired. It is a hard life for him, like being ridden every day. Well, he's had one day off this week and he will have tomorrow off, but schooling is like so mentally hard for him, so he's finding it quite tough. You do prefer your hacking, don't you? So it's very hard learning to canter. But I'm going to let him go in the stable now, just have a wee and a drink, have a little nap if he wants to, before going out in the box. Good boy.
Nostrils are going. That was me moving.
So we started off the lesson just talking about Donny and what I wanted to work on and about him. And my main issue is keeping a consistent contact. I feel like he throws his head up and down and becomes a little bit overbent at times, and I don't really help him out. So I wanted to work on an exercise that encouraged him to come out further with his head, if that makes sense, sort of stretching more over his back. And I also wanted him to take bigger steps because I feel like I hold him too much. So the very first exercise me and Justine ran through was just riding him on a small circle around her, just so she could assess what I was doing with my hands. And as you can see, he's kind of either really deep or up high. He's like not very consistent. So we just worked on riding him forwards into the contact and me keeping my hands still. And when he did become overbent, I needed to lift my outside rein to kind of get him to lift. So here we're just playing with the contact. Justine suggested I rode him on a longer contact, but as you can see, he kind of still goes quite deep. So then we shortened the reins back up, went for more of a normal contact, held my reins normally and worked him forwards and just encouraged him to stretch on a small circle.
Lad. And have that rein there. So for me at the moment, the rein's a bit too polite.
Yeah.
So it's going baggy all the time.
Yeah.
And that means he can come and go with his head, yeah?
Yeah.
So I don't want you to hold him round.
Yeah.
But if you want him to keep his head and the contact still, you've got to keep it still. Yeah? Lad. Good lad. Just really think, let him stretch a little bit. That contact very easy. Really turn your shoulders. Good boy. Good lad. And then press him out. Good lad. And that's better in the contact.
Yeah.
And then again, just bring it in. Good boy. Really think about a consistent outline. Good boy. Lots of legs. Press into that contact. Turn your shoulders. Good boy there. Good boy there. Good boy. That's better, yeah? Yeah. Make sure it stays even. Keep your hand as still as he'll keep his head. Good boy. Good boy. High down. Good lad. Stay there. So we know what you're pressing on the leg into that hand. Good lad. That leg on. Good boy. Good boy. And then just as you're going round, you can every now and again you can just have a little lift, just if you feel his nose is tucking in,
Yeah.
and then make a transition into walk. Lift him round, but lift his head, that's it. Good. Down, good boy. Good boy. Down, good boy. Okay, walk transition.
So once we had him stretching and going well in the trot, we wanted to work on the canter. The canter is his most unbalanced pace. He finds it really hard to keep the canter. So we just worked on getting him going forwards, going into his natural, big rhythmed stride and not worrying about his head and just riding him forwards. And I got the most lovely canter out of him, even though it did feel a little bit quick. It was the first time that he felt like he was in a rhythm. So I was really happy with that. So we're back home, we're cooled off and it's nearly tea time and I think it's time for a bit of a debrief on our lesson. So we didn't do like loads of work because he finds it really hard. So we did like a little bit at a time, which was really, really good. And I really wanted to work on getting him to stretch out more because he really wants to be like over bent. And my contact with him is very inconsistent and he sort of throws his head around sort of wanting the contact. So we really worked on that, getting him to stretch out and become more supple over his back, getting him more forwards, sort of walking into the contact rather than being in a false outline. And then we had a bit of a canter round and worked on him like just going forwards and working forwards rather than wanting to be tucked up and unbalanced in the canter, if that makes sense. But behaviour wise, he was an absolute superstar. He loaded, just walked straight on the box. He got there and he was a little bit tense and lucky when he first arrived, but he had like 20 minutes to settle, so he chilled pretty quickly. I walked him around the arena before we rode in there just so he could have a look at everything, and he was fantastic. He let me get on, he got on with it. He didn't worry about the other horses being around him. I'm so pleased. He was just so great and I'm so excited to go to some shows and compete him, but I just want to take my time, get the flat work in, get him going nicely before we do any actual competitions. But I definitely want to like take him out and about for some lessons and some clinics, and Justine said about possibly taking him over and doing like a hack with one of her horses and he could follow Brody over a few little like logs and stuff. So I'm so excited and I'm just so proud of him for being such a good boy. Aren't you? You're such a good boy. You're such a good boy. And Finley has had a good day asleep in his stable. Hey, Finley. Donny will have tomorrow off and Finley can do some work tomorrow. Finley's doing really well. I feel a bit bad that he hasn't got to go to Justine's today because he loves to work. But he's doing well. He's enjoying hacking and keeping busy, aren't you? You're a little firecracker, aren't you? Don't eat me. I haven't got any treats. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this week's vlog and our lesson. There's going to be lots more like lessons and training to come probably with Donny, and we won't be doing as many shows over winter just because he's not yet there yet. But Finley will be going out and doing some working hunter and show jumping and whatever we can find in between the lessons. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you all next Monday at 8 o'clock. Bye.